So Biles, JDawg back. We finally got Sam Biles of Hideous Mangleus on camera. It's taken a while, but he's finally here. You didn't tell me you're coming down the show, Sam. Why didn't you email me? You got my email?
That's true. I don't, like I said, I usually do Messenger and text, but anyway, I just figured I knew you were going to be here. So
yeah, you knew I was going to be here, huh?
Yeah.
So you watch the channel? You stalking me?
Yes, every day.
Yeah. Oh, you watch it every day?
Well, no. I think I watched it every day for about a year, and then
they got burned out.
Well, even by your own admittance,
it's repetitive.
Yeah. So, but I still do. I'd say about every third day I catch up with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending on the title of the the video.
Yeah. So they know on the channel, this is people that watch every day, and is that we're doing the Hideous Mangleus album, All Your Friends Are Dead, on vinyl and CD.
Yes.
We were supposed to do that years ago, so I told the story. You saw it. I think I busted your balls on the channel, because you laid it out initially, and you sent me the layout.
Yeah, it was like some crazy shit, because I remember you brothers, you were working at like a print shop.
Yeah.
And
well, that was years ago.
Going by the Nunslaughter layouts, which were like, you get like a full-blown 6-foot coffin, and like literally the corpse and all this.
Tom got spoiled.
I felt that, I felt compelled to make some crazy layout, and when I turned it in, you guys were like, we can't do this anymore because we don't work at the print shop. But to be fair, I will say that I think all things considered, it's better off that it's coming out now, because the layout is, I personally feel that the layout is quite better than it was.
Yes, it's never been on vinyl ever.
Nah.
Did you guys ever over the years, when the CD came out, get offers for somebody to do it on vinyl? That's never come out.
The guy from Spain,
Mortar
Portugal,
Records.
Dave.
Okay. And why did that fall through?
Well, I told him I had pledged. When you guys come up to me after the show in 2011 and asked me about doing it.
Shit, you actually remember all that, huh?
Oh yeah. I was talking to Dawn. I just mentioned it to Dawn. I was talking to you guys. I was talking to Dawn, and you guys come up to me and said, "What do we have to do for you to like put this out on like double gatefold OBI, maybe even picture this, blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Should I start giving you guys hand jobs?" And I mean, what do you mean? What I have to do? You're doing me the favor of putting, I had to guess, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 in investing in my band and my vision. So I appreciate that, and like I said, we went through the first thing, and then I think my hard drive crashed like twice. But anyway, the good news is, I personally am of the opinion that the layout that the people will get is the best one that there was.
Now there's going to be a lot of young folks and older guys that are just out of the fucking loop, that are unfamiliar with Hideous Mangleus, which I'm a big fan of. I've talked about them many times.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people that don't know, if you were to try to describe it? If somebody's like, they're into death metal, they're into metal, and you're like, yeah, I'm in a band. They're like, well, tell me about it. Like, well, what's it like? Who's your fan? I'm like, for example, I think your vocals really stand out. And I'm not saying that just because you're standing here. Like, it kind of reminded me of maybe a little bit more of a more guttural Frank Mullen, really low and fucking powerful, but maybe a little bit more of a little grinding tone. That's the best way I can describe it. That's me listening, that's vocally, and then you could definitely hear the grindcore, kind of like punk influences in there. How would you describe it as somebody if they're like, dude, I like Suffocation, I like Cannibal, Deicide, what's your band? Hideous Mangleus, how would you tell them?
The other three guys in the band, Joel, Kurt, and Phoebe, they wrote most of the music, and I would write the lyrics and do the artwork, but all of us, now I'm, I think, 2 or 3 years older than them, so I was...
How old are you?
55.
Damn.
But I was coming out of like Black Sabbath and of course Kiss, I think this is the everybody who's 55 says they love Kiss. But when I hooked up with those guys in like 7th, 8th grade, I was wearing like Sam Haines shirts and Misfit shirts, and they were like, "Whoa, dude, you like the same stuff we do?" And then when I remember one time in particular, we were riding in the car, and I put on like Into the Void for them, and they were like, "Oh my God, like, how is this possible that there's music this heavy in 1971?" But anyway, to answer the question, Hideous Mangleus is basically like a hardcore band that we took on the sound because of bands. One of your favorite bands, Carcass, I love Lee Dorian's vocals. I personally think that's the best death metal vocalist ever, even though he's more grindcore vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's literally like 7 Seconds, Misfits, and all that. Except we were inspired by Chaotic Plague, a local band in Mon City, which is like pre-Rochevore, and because Chris was in Chaotic Plague. But yeah, it's basically just people playing hardcore music, except we're playing it like with a real heavy. I don't think we had heard at the time the Nihilist like second or third demo, but that's pretty much what we were aiming for, you know, that like, or Fear of God or something. Because our recordings, as much as people like them, as Don can attest, and maybe he'll even disagree, I don't know. But when we were playing live, it was just like, we almost sounded like Fear of God or something, because it was just like noise on top of noise. But anyway, we're just really into hardcore.
Who came up with the idea for the, I think it's fantastic because it was very original. You came up with your own intros for the album, All Your Friends Are Dead, where it's the news outlet, Pittsburgh News, but it's talking about you guys, like in the morgue and shit. I thought it was genius because it literally sounds like a real news outlet.
I'll give that to my father in the sense.
Whose voice is that? And
that's my father.
Oh, okay. So
and I got to give him credit because what do they say? Give someone an inch and they take it a mile. He did that in a positive sense, where I said to my dad, I said, hey, here's the 3 intros you gotta, and he actually did 4. And to be fair, I didn't know till like 5 years after the fact. I listened to the cassette. There's a 4th one, which is on that Shadows That Kill
CD. Yeah, it's got the compilation disc.
If you want the full poop or whatever. But my father, he did that, and he expanded on it, and he knew like Cyril Wack and all. You know, he added to that. In fact, not to get off the subject, but there's a friend of mine from Melbourne. He's going to make a video about this band that got shot on the Quaker Cemetery grounds with like Twiggy Ramirez and all this other shit. And he contacted me because we were friends, I don't know, for 25, 30 years. But anyway, my father expanded on that and made it, I think he made it really, well, let me put it this way. For your video, for your audience, I think they'd appreciate this. That someone from somewhere, maybe 20 years ago, wrote me and said, dude, I'm trying to track down this actual newscast. And I was like you often say on your program, I'm like, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, do you think, so for those to be true, I'm a resurrected vampire.
Yeah.
And so this guy literally was like, dude, I'm trying to get the real newscast.
So you see my comments. So some of the shit people say, I'm like, dude, please tell me there's people not this fucking You can't be this dumb.
But I will say, this fella wrote me.
That's one of my favorite Bundy's line. Some of my commenters, it pops in my mind. Bud Bundy says to his sister Kelly Bundy. She says something, he's like, dude, if you were any dumber, my IQ would go down. That's the way I feel when I read some of the comments. But I can't, exactly. But I believe it though. They thought that was like, how would you think
thought it was
real?
Literally, they were like, I'm trying to like contact KDKA to like get the real newscast. I'm like, okay, I'm glad you are, but like, I don't mean to burst the bubble, or thank you for your appreciation of the band, but I'm not like a reanimated vampire, you know.
Right. Wow.
Till I met Dawn, of course.
Yeah.
That was later.
When you first meet Don?
89, I think.
Were you calling him Big D back then too?
Little D. I think he was Little D back then. I was telling him, classic. Well, it's classic to me. Hideous Mangleus was playing like one of our maybe second or third show.
What year was that? When's your first show? What year was Hideous Mangleus?
Well, 89, summer of 89, with our original drummer.
Second or third show.
But when we started playing the Odyssey in probably the fall of 89, and I remember one time we were loading in, and Dawn's like back in the alley, and I had met him once or twice, but I was like, dude, what are you doing back in the alley? He's like, dude, I'm here to see your band. And I was like, I was like, well, thank you. You know what I mean?
Someone showed up.
Yeah, and he recorded. I just told him, and he didn't necessarily remember. But at my house, I have a cassette because he would bring like a little cassette recorder. He'd have to tell you that part. But to this day, I have it. It says Yins, and it's like a show from like I don't know, May 26, 90 or something. But anyway.
Why do you think, especially by the album, you guys did a studio album? It's one thing if you just did only the demos and 7 inches, but you did record a studio album. All Your Friends Are Dead. Said coming out of Hellside Bangers, LP, CD. It's overlooked as fuck. Why do you think that is? Like, because I think it's phenomenal. It's just, again, it's brutal, but it's catchy and memorable as opposed to a lot of death metal. Like, this is just monotonous bullshit. It just blurs together, or it's an incantation clone that puts me to fucking sleep. Just boring as fuck.
We have to thank.
I don't understand how a record like that can get overlooked by the community of, like, if you like brutal shit. But it is. It's totally overlooked. Why, in your opinion, why do you think that happened?
In a way, before I answer that, I guess I would say I'm glad it is.
You're glad that it is?
Yeah, in a sense. But that's not to say that I'm not, happy this is low coming out. But with that said, because I guess I say that only in that, let's say Hideous Mangleus, we would have put our 2 7 inches. We were supposed to go tour, unfortunately I don't have the letters with me, but we were supposed to go tour with, like, I think in 90, someone set us a contract to go tour with Carcass and someone else, and, like, we were going to do 3 shows in France and 3 shows in Belgium.
Oh shit, that would have been cool.
To say the least. But sadly, at some point, I'm a hoarder, so I still have the record. I'm sorry, the letter. But it's all fell through. But
now, was this post or prior to the album coming out?
Oh, the album come out way later.
Okay. So you already had this offer when you were just a demo and EP then?
Yeah. In 1990, someone from France sent us this offer. But as far as the album, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I think I must admit that I think because you always put such passion into your releases, and you're doing like the gatefold and possibly a picture disc and all the rest, and shirts and all the rest. I got to be honest. I think that a lot of people that haven't known Hideous Mangleus will discover Hideous Mangleus with this release.
No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind people are going to hear it and like it. It's impossible.
And let's put it this way. Let's say Hideous Mangleus, we put out our 2 7 inches, and everybody in the world would have said, "Oh, you're the greatest band ever." Because of what went on in our lives, I think we still, again, I think I'm thankful that we weren't, like, quote unquote discovered or anything, because, well, I guess I'll go back and tell a funny story about, like, our demo. Like, the other guys in the band, they were like, "Dude, are you handing out flyers for our demo?" Now, this is all going to sound very strange, but they're like, "We don't want anyone to hear our demo. We don't want anyone to hear our music." So this is how underground they were. They were so pumped that they were like, "No, dude, I don't want no one to hear our shit." So, but they finally warmed up to it. But of course. But anyway, I hope I answered your question.
Why do you think? How long after the album came out that you guys broke up, though?
When the album broke up, I think we went out to the bar. There's a bar that sold Long Island iced teas, and we went out and had some Long Island iced teas. And we said, we're going to go on hiatus. And we pretty much at that point, we never just go. In 2000, we started rehearsing, and we did write like maybe 3 to 5 songs. And in 2001, but 2001 was the last time Hideous Mangleus.
So you stayed on that one? Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was a big gap though. There was gaps. But like you said, you can't say your band's been together for 40 years. You started in 90, but you only been active for 5 years. So. Yeah. So I agree with that.
So why did you guys end up breaking up? What was the reason for that?
I guess everybody went their own way. I mean, I was dating some girl. I lived by a college town. I was living with some girl, and they were doing what they were doing. And
did you still communicate with any guys?
Oh yeah, I just talked to Fee the other day. He's a guitar player, and we all, because you talk about, I think in one of your recent interviews, someone was saying about how they segued into something else. But me and Fee especially, around 91. We started getting more into like techno and industrial. We started going to raves. From 90, '91 to like '95, I was like going to raves like all the time. Baltimore, DC. So anyway, I fell into that. But where other people, again, I can't remember the interview, but some people fell into like black metal and stuff. I had no use for that and still don't. But
So you don't like any black metal at all, with the exception of that on the show.
I mean, with the exception of like, if you would call, say, Sathanos black metal, I mean, Black and Death or Black and Thrash, but no, I don't know.
The only time I've seen you guys was, I guess the year was 2011.
Yeah.
Was that Buffalo show, and you had one of the names Sam Biles.
Yeah.
Was that just a one-off show? Did you do others? Why did you do that? And also, how many guys were you the only original member? And if so,
Yes.
also why?
My friend Paul Ramirez from Splatteria, he knew those guys. They're all top shelf guys. They're in PL. Dave from Pretty Little Flower.
Yeah.
And, these guys from Texas. Francisco. And
Francisco
Matt.
from Jamming Out All Badass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Java, huh?
So I didn't meet those guys. Basically, long story short is I was hanging out a lot with Paul Ramirez because he was living in Pennsylvania right by me. And we were hanging out all the time. And he said, I don't even know how to... Brian, well, I guess like this segues into Brian Patterson. I have to say that Brian Patterson always looked out for me and always, like you're saying, the internet, I'm sorry, not the internet, the underground has always kind of somewhat, don't get me wrong, there are thousands of people that like Hideous Mangleus. But with that said, we're a cult thing. But Brian Patterson, he always tried to include me and stuff. So I played in like a exploited cover band with him. He would have me play his Death Fest. But I didn't meet, anyway, to get back to your question, I didn't meet those guys till 3 hours before the show.
Oh, shit, okay.
So those guys,
So they were just practicing the songs on their own.
I told them, I was like, I know the songs. If you know them, I know them. So I was worried about, I made this like 12 foot by 15 foot backdrop thing. And the club was like, oh, you can't have a backdrop. So I went in and I talked to him and I said, look, I hung off the side of a house to make this. I'm afraid of heights. And they said, all right, you can have your backdrop. But anyway, so I met the guys and we went up on stage and they killed it. And I have no complaints. I mean, they were,
Did you do any shows since then? That was the only one.
Oh yeah, no, I probably did 5. I think my last show was Hell's Unholy Fire. Me, Dwayne, Brian, and Dora. We did a tribute. I think, because I've done various fundraisers for people. I think in that case it was Jesse Laughlin when he had that flesh-eating virus in his leg. But we did a non-slaughter, like a old school non-slaughter set, mainly off of the early 7 inches in the first album. But and then Paul from Paul Gorfing come up. And he did, I think, Satanic Slut and one other song off of the Goat album. But that was good. But yeah, I've played shows up until about probably, 3-4 years ago, periodically. But what I will say is, had it not been for Brian Patterson, I might not have played a show for, let's say, the last 20 years. About every 3 to 5 years, Brian would say, dude, I got this show coming up. I'm going to make an exploited cover band. Do you want to sing? I'm like, well I'm not going to sing. And that was fun. It was a lot of fun. We were supposed to do a Napalm Death cover to do the mentally murdered EP, but unfortunately it didn't come to pass. But anyway.
What was the reason when you did it, you didn't call it Hideous Mangleus, you called it Sam Biles? Was that just out of respect for the other guys?
Yes, because without the other guys, it's not Hideous Mangleus.
Bands of today, they do.
I know. I out of respect for them, because as I think I mentioned outside, I wrote the lyrics mostly, and I did the artwork and all this, but they mainly did the music. So it would be disrespect to them, and to be honest, the fans, in the sense that, I mean, maybe not, because as you know, some of the fans just come to like check off the, oh, okay, the band's called this, okay, even if there's not one original member, I saw them.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to disrespect the fans or the other guys, so I just called it Sam Biles, because the only correlation between all of it was me. So I didn't do it because people were like, oh, ego trip, Dio, or Dawkins or something. I was like, no, I'm just doing it because the only thing between that and is me. So.
Well, Sam, I got a couple of things. I don't want to take up too much time. Your homeboys in Rochester are going up soon.
Right.
But having said that, so what's the? We asked Chris earlier. John said, "Got to ask, what's the greatest death metal album of all time in the world?"
You know, I have to say, this isn't my favorite death metal album, but if I had to say, with production, riffs, and all the lyrics, and vocals, and all of it, I would probably say Slowly We Rock.
Okay.
Just because, again, after Cause of Death, or whatever that album's called, I have no use for Obituary. And when I've seen them, I think they're just like punching in at McDonald's. But what I will say is, but that album, when you listen to it, I mean, it's so, they call it the experimental album, which means it's good and everything else they wrote sucks. But it is what it is. But I will say that arguably, now with that said, now if you said, I would surely say put Severed Survival above that, etc. But if you factor in all the factors, I reluctantly say Slowly We Rock.
Okay.
But I know as far as the first death metal band or death metal, I would personally say if anybody says anything other than Hellhammer, they're silly. But and I don't even listen to Hellhammer, but you look at the metal encyclopedia, and I mean the dates don't lie. So it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, well, I wrote the first death metal album. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm looking at the website, and it's a year later. So, but anyway,
right on. All right. Well, is there anything I didn't mention, Sam? Since Roger was on that you want to say or shout out or anything like that?
No, I'd just like to thank you very much, you and your brothers, because again, it's, to be fair. Again, I think it's for the best that it took so long for this record to come out, because the layout is infinitely better than it would have been. But
Well, we got your vacation.
Well, plus I get the show.
Oh yeah, you didn't get. Yeah, I remember you guys.
He sends me the layout. The first one, I'm like,
yeah, I was.
Bro, I don't want your vacation photos in the layout.
I was.
He's at the Holiday Inn. He's in a swimming pool in his
I wish you could put that picture up right here.
Smiling. I'm like, what the fuck shit is this, homie? I was like, I don't want that, my guy.
I remember you guys running me back. I don't want, but I was basically I lived in Phoenix, off and on.
Whatever the fuck it was. I was like, yeah, because on the front cover, you're literally all covered in blood and shit. He's all smiley with Modelo.
Oh, I won't tell a picture. I mean, I guess we're not concerned about the time on this, but I will say that in 1995, my girlfriend at the time I was living with, Allison, she lived in Erie, so she went home for some reason or other. So me and the guys say, this is our chance to get this album cover, inspired surely by Sam Hain, Initium.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And so we get in the shower. My brother, he's snapping the pictures. This is before digital cameras, so we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We turned the film in. He didn't take the lens cap off.
Fucking buffoon.
So the next day,
fucking idiots.
and some girl named Paige, she taught us how to make the fake blood and all this. No, I mean it's real blood. Wink, wink. But anyway, so we're in the shower. We poured this blood all over us. My brother takes 24 pictures with the lens cap on. So the next day, the only thing we did learn though is you got to use what is that called? The tearless shampoo. Because the first day we used the non-tearless, and we were our eyes were swelling out of our head.
Something used for babies, kids, yeah.
But anyway, that's a little story. Oh, and I wanted to tell one last story if I could.
Of course.
Just because I think it is, irregardless if it's my band or any band. I don't know, 2015 or whatever it was. I was going to this little concert in Charleroi, Pennsylvania. I live right outside of Charleroi. And this guy, he was homeless. I gotta make sure I say this real quick so I don't like start get emotional, because this is crazy. This homeless dude, he's like, yeah, man, I like your band. And I was like, okay. He's like a young guy. He had a backpack. That's all he had to his name.
Yeah.
And he had a fucking Hideous Mangleus 7-inch.
Really?
The Unearthing Grandma's Grave 7-inch in it. He goes, dude, will you sign it?
Really?
I gotta be honest, like I almost started crying. I was like, dude, that backpack is all you have on this world, and you have a Hideous Mangleus 7-inch in there? I was like,
that's what he had to grab when he's on his way out the door.
I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, there's no words to accommodate that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't mean to take up all your time.
Oh, no.
And thank you very much.
Of course.
Again.
Off to see Rochefort now, right, Sam?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
If they haven't started playing, I'll get to announce it. You got the worst. You got the worst.
All right, Paul, so what you watch for now, goddammit?
Thank you.